Boom. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Should we introduce ourselves?
I think we should.
Should we start out with our names?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my name is Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
Yeah. What's your name?
I'm Gabriel. Or I guess we could talk about what the podcast is and stuff, too. Kind of what we want to cover.
Okay. Yeah, good idea. This is our podcast.
Spooky.
Yeah, spooky. Today is going to be a true crime case that I did some research on.
It won't only just be true crime. Like I said, we want to do like, horror, paranormal, stuff like
Aliens.
that, too. Yeah. Cause
Ghosts.
Because they're out there. Better believe it.
Just like unsolved mysteries in general, I think
Yeah.
we're both really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm excited to do, what do they call like Bigfoot and the Loveland Frogmen?
Cryptids.
Cryptids. I want to do the cryptids.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well aware.
I'm skeptical about that stuff, so I'm excited to do this with you.
Me too. I'm really excited to do this. It's fun.
This case is really famous. It got a lot of coverage, but in the true crime community, at least, it's not really discussed a lot. And I don't know why, because it's insanely fascinating. But without further ado, here we go. Sam Herr, okay?
Like hair, like a rabbit?
Herr. Sam Herr. The only child of Steve and Raquel Herr, okay? He was born on May 29th, and he was 26 at the time this all went down. He was described by his friends as being a big, strong guy, happy-go-lucky, always smiling, and always laughing. He was a war veteran and was home from a tour of Afghanistan. He actually volunteered to go to a place called Camp Keating in Afghanistan, which where he participated in combat. His job was actually to run through the battlefield, risking gunfire to keep the generators going.
Said he was in Camp Keating? Keating to...
Like Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder.
That's what everyone thought.
Which apparently Camp Keating was the site of one of the most deadly battles during the war in Afghanistan. The Battle of Kamdesh. I don't think that he was actually present for that particular battle. He might have been, but I couldn't get confirmation. Regardless, it's an intense place. He was there really just like doing the damn thing, like risking his life.
He was doing the thing.
Yeah, and like just he's a great guy. We love him.
So this guy is like a seasoned veteran.
Like a war hero.
Yeah, a war hero, essentially. Okay.
At the time of this occurrence that we are discussing today, he was attending classes at a community college, Orange Coast College. I don't know anything about the Army, but he wanted to return to the Army as a higher ranking member.
Yeah.
Sam was extremely close with his parents. Okay, that's important to remember. On the weekend of May 21st, 2010, Sam was expected to be at his parents' house for a visit. When he couldn't be reached and he still hadn't arrived, his father, Steve Herr, went to his son's apartment, which was located in an apartment complex in Orange County's Costa Mesa, California. Unfortunately, shortly after Mr. Herr, Steve Herr, arrived, a 911 call was placed by him to report the dead body of a woman in his son's apartment.
Oh.
Who was that woman, you ask? I would love to tell you. Her name is Juri, Juri Kibuishi, but she was known as Julie. She was a Japanese American.
Yeah.
And she was the daughter of June and Masa, M-A-S-A, Kibuishi. And at the time, she was 23 years old and a student as well at Orange Coast College. She was pursuing a passion of dance and fashion. She was extremely loved by everybody around her. The whole community knew her to be kind and compassionate, but also very goofy and bubbly. There is a 2020 special on this case that has a lot of home videos of her. I'm gonna see if I can post some of those on our Instagram, which is at Clandestine Pod. She was tutoring fellow classmate and close friend Sam Herr in anthropology, which is something I don't know what it is. I don't know what anthropology is at all.
Anthropology, if I'm not mistaken, that's like it's like the study of history, isn't it? Like they go to like certain places and like study like I think it's like the study of culture. Anthropology. Can I look that up real quick so I don't sound like an idiot here?
Okay. So they were known to be close friends, platonic friends, as well as neighbors in the same apartment complex. Sam described Julie as his kid sister to his father and told him that their relationship was one of a close platonic friendship. Yeah. And again, he was really close with his parents. I feel like if he did see Julie as something more, he probably would have just told his father. I don't know why he would have like not shared that with him.
Yeah.
Friday evening, May 21st, Sam was actually due to attend a barbecue with a bunch of the people that lived in the apartment complex.
Yeah.
And he didn't show up. His friends were kind of like, huh, that's weird. Whatever.
Was this the same day that his dad, May 21st, his dad went over to...
No, his dad went over the next day, Saturday morning. So Friday evening, Julie was having dinner with her brother to talk about his upcoming wedding. And he gave Julie a tiara from his fiance that she would wear during the ceremony. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
During dinner, she received a text from Sam asking if he could see her. Earlier that day, he had texted Julie, quote, helping Dan, then headed to folks for weekend. I'm hurting with some bad fam crap. I can't be alone. No sex. Please, I'm begging as a brother.
That was Sam that said that to Julie.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I don't like the sound of that at all. It sounds like
it didn't seem to her that she would be hearing from Sam much the rest of the day, so it was a little surprising when about 2 hours later after that text was sent, he sent a series of texts to Julie indicating he was depressed and wanted someone to talk to. Some of these being, quote, can you come over tonight at midnight alone? Very upset. Need to talk.
He might be a good guy and all that, but he definitely seems, from what he's saying, a person that likes to be in control. Because he's kind of saying, like, need you to come over, like, no sex, like, and also manipulative, like,
right.
So that's very strange. I don't like that, but.
Well, Julie agreed to meet Sam after dinner, and she texted him, quote, I'm here for you like family. However, Saturday morning, her mother was immediately concerned that she was not home and appeared to not have been home at all the night before. Attempts to reach her phone were unsuccessful. Immediately, he placed a 911 call. Julie appeared to have either been shot in the head or hit with a blunt force object.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hold up, though. Okay, real quick. It said either shot in the head or hit. I feel like that's a pretty, like, easy, like, difference to indicate.
It was just there was a lot of blood. You couldn't really tell.
Oh, like there was okay, like there was so much damage done to her head, you couldn't really, Jesus.
Yeah, and that's important to remember.
Yeah.
Some of her clothes were ripped / torn off, and the position her body was in suggested a sexual assault did take place.
Oh, man, that's...
She had a message on her body that read, quote, all yours, fuck you. On Saturday, May 22nd, inside Sam's apartment, his father, Steve, found Julie's lifeless body lying face down on the bed in his son's bedroom. This is the most heartbreaking thing I've ever heard in my life. She was still wearing the tiara her brother had given her at dinner.
Oh my God. So then that...
And she was like...
Someone wrote that message on her?
I think it was like on her shirt. Somebody like wrote it on her shirt, or it might have been on her skin, like a marker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I heard that she was still wearing the tiara, I was like, oh my God, that
sick.
Makes me want to freaking cry my eyes out.
Awful.
And she was so like happy about that tiara and so excited for her brother,
right.
And it was just bad, all bad. Police immediately embarked on an extensive manhunt for Herr, who they believed to be armed and dangerous because of his military background, and concerns of PTSD, which some people in Herr's life had been noticing some symptoms of.
Oh.
It was also revealed that a teenage Sam Herr had been arrested and charged for capital murder years prior. Now, this is something I didn't know about when I first heard about this story. Yeah, so don't worry, I got all the deets. I'm going to tell you about it. So, in 2002, which was 8 years prior to what we're talking about now, so he was a teenager, He was involved in the fatal beating and stabbing of a 19-year-old named Byron Benito in a gang-affiliated attack. Sam, apparently, allegedly, whatever, he was friendly with members of a certain gang in the area of, like, Southern California or whatever. We're gonna call the gang that Sam is affiliated with, we're gonna call it Gang A, okay? He and another friend who, again, was just affiliated, they weren't actually a part of the gang, agreed to lure Byron, who was an official gang member, to a rival gang of Gang A, which we will call Gang B. So he lured this kid Byron to an abandoned business park to smoke some weed, a spot that was supposedly chosen by Sam because of its lack of surveillance cameras.
Surveillance cameras.
Upon arrival, 15 Gang A members attacked Byron in retaliation for the killing of a fellow Gang A member that they believed was killed by a member of Gang B, if not by Byron himself. So there is no evidence that Byron specifically was involved in the death of this Gang A member that they were avenging the death of.
Yeah. 3
Gang A members were ultimately sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole as punishment for their involvement. Also, this attack was, like, really brutal. I read that there were several, like, instances of, like, Gang A members being stabbed by their own gang members because of the frenzy. It was, like, that chaotic.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
Sam did not actually take part in the stabbing. He just lured him, and then
they planned it, essentially.
They planned it. I believe he and the other friend that lured the kid there, they went somewhere else nearby and, like, started a fire or something like that to, like, cause commotion, so police would go there instead of going to the stabbing.
Was this before he went to the army?
Yeah, he was like 16, 17.
Oh, jeez.
Sam Herr was among the people charged in this case, but ultimately was not found guilty of any crime, so he was acquitted of all charges. Any thoughts so far?
One, this guy sounds like a lunatic.
Right.
From the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he's a teenager doing stuff like that, it makes a lot of sense that he's obviously had something to do with the jewelry girl, but is the culprit. I just would love to hear how he somehow was not in prison for life for that.
I think a big part of the reason was because he was underage.
See, though, but and
he didn't have any actual, like, physical involvement.
They probably didn't have evidence proving that he led him there, so he had to.
Well, I think they had evidence that he led them there, but they couldn't prove that he lured him there for the attack, and not just to actually smoke weed, and the gang happened to be there.
So he lucked out, essentially.
Yeah. In the days following the discovery of Julie and the disappearance of Sam Herr, Steve Herr shared a bank account with his son, okay? And he was checking the account to see if it would uncover any clues about where his son could be. He saw that there had been a series of unknown withdrawals made in Long Beach, California, which was about 20 miles away.
Oh.
The police requested security camera footage from the banks where the withdrawals took place. The person on the footage made 4 ATM withdrawals, and he did not appear to be Sam at all. He appeared to be a teenager. At this point, a total amount of around $1,900 had been taken out of Sam's account. On May 26th, police were alerted when a pizza delivery order was placed using Sam's card. Once authorities arrived at the residence, they found Wesley Freilich. I might have pronounced that wrong.
That is an awful last name.
He was 16 years old, and police searched the residence while Wesley admitted to how he had gained possession of Sam's stolen card. The teen told police that a friend of his mother's had given him the card and asked him to make withdrawals for him because he was a bail bondsman and Sam owed him money. So his mom was actually a community theater actor, and this friend was also a community theater actor. So I'm assuming the mother probably took this kid along to, like, rehearsals and stuff like that, and so that's how he came into contact with his mom's friend.
Yeah.
He assured Wesley that this was all legal, and that him being a minor meant he couldn't be charged for anything that wasn't legal.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry. But come on. It'll be okay.
Okay, so who is this friend? Do you want to know?
Kind of want to know.
All right. His name is Dan Wozniak, and he was a community theater actor living in Costa Mesa, California. He did not have a formal job at the time. His full-time job was being a community theater actor. Had a problem with keeping any jobs he had in the past, any like formal money-making jobs.
That's never a good sign.
You know, he is not without love, because he was engaged to a fellow community theater actor and frequent co-star named Rachel Mae Buffett. The evening of the 26th, Dan was called in by police for questioning because Wesley had identified him as the man who gave him Sam's card and the instructions to use it. Dan declined to come in that day because it was the night of his bachelor party. So he was like, I know there was this awful murder that just happened involving like people. Oh, by the way, Dan Wozniak and Rachel Buffett, they live in the apartment complex too. So I know that this like crazy thing just happened to my neighbors, but I'm busy that day.
It's my bachelor party. I don't have time for murder.
Looks like you do have some incriminating evidence, but I can't make it.
Can I get a rain check on that interrogation, please?
Yeah, I actually don't want to, so...
Yeah, I'm all right. I don't want to do it.
However, the police did arrive at the restaurant where the party was being held with an arrest warrant.
Well, they didn't care.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So he was forcibly brought in to be questioned. During questioning, Dan would admit to having Wesley make withdrawals from Sam's account for him, but denied knowing anything about Julie's murder or Sam's current whereabouts. He told police that Sam knew about the credit card scheme. It was actually his idea, so he could later report his card stolen. Police took Dan's DNA, and Dan started to remember a little bit more of what happened with Sam. He eventually admitted to police that he had been with Sam the morning of Julie's murder, and that Sam told him he had done something bad to her that resulted in her death.
This guy went from not knowing anything to just completely spilling the beans.
Well, this is his friend. Like, he wants to cover for his friend, right?
Well, sounds like you just told on him.
Well, after this,
so.
Dan was no longer cooperating with detectives and expressed his intention to leave. Police informed him that he was going to be held at the jail because he was under arrest for accessory to murder. Unless he had more information that he was hiding from them, he was not going to be leaving that day.
Oh, wow.
Starting to crack under the pressure, the police told Wozniak that his DNA had been found in Sam's apartment and had been found on Kibuishi's body. Now, this was a little bit of a sneaky tactic by the police department because they had just taken his DNA swab. To this, Dan says, quote, "I will talk to you about anything if it gets me to my wedding on Friday." End quote. Very recently.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Within hours, There is no way that it could have been processed that quickly. So they didn't know that for sure. But they just told him that to see what he would say.
Well, that's not a bad idea either. I mean...
It worked because it got him to admit to being in the apartment that day and to seeing her remains. He said, quote, "Yes, I saw the goddamn body. Is that what you want to hear?" End quote. When asked what he saw, he said he saw 2 gunshot wounds in the back of her head. Now, this was interesting to police because at that point, only 1 gunshot had been initially identified by investigators.
Ooh.
Remember, it was so bloody, they couldn't even, initially tell what it was, if it was a gunshot, if it was, bludgeoning.
Yeah.
Upon receiving the autopsy results, it was confirmed that there were 2 gunshot wounds to Julie's head. Detectives pressed Dan a bit more about this detail until he abruptly ends the interview and returns to his jail cell. During this time, he made phone calls to his fiancée. Now, Gabe, I would like you to assist me in reading the transcripts of this call.
Yes, please.
Oh,
can I be Dan?
I was hoping you'd say that. All right, so R is going to be Rachel. So I will be playing the part of Rachel Buffett for this production of Insanity. And Gabe will be playing the role of Dan Wozniak. All right.
Is it starting from right there?
Yep.
Okay.
What did you do?
I helped Sam cover some stuff up and helped him get some drugs. That's it. I didn't murder anybody.
My mom's working on canceling all the wedding plans now, and I just talked to Tim, Dan's brother, and I need to make a phone call to the police detectives now.
Why?
Because Tim's involved. I need to call the detective first because I need to call him and let him know before they catch me on this recording device because it looks like I'm not trying to tell him right away. Tim says he has evidence with him, or he knew where it was or something.
That I'm doomed.
What?
Tim said that?
Yeah. Do you know Tim had some evidence?
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. He says this like a robot. I wasn't doing that to be funny.
He does. Well, this is ridiculous, and I have to go tell the detectives the truth.
No, baby. Tim did speak up?
First of all, I just have to put a quick pause in here, and you are a much better actor than Dan Wozniak because he said this whole thing like a robot. Like, he said it like, no, baby, baby, Tim. Like, it was so bad. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Only to me so far, and it was in passing. I said I'm going to the police station right now. Danny's been arrested, and he started freaking out. He was really frantic, and he said something slipped that he had evidence, so I...
No, don't. That can't be found.
No, babe, I'm gonna do it.
Listen to me. No.
What?
Trust me, please. I have to tell the truth on what I did, and I think you know what I did is bad. Imagine the worst thing, and that's what I did. Oh,
all right.
Maybe he did it. Maybe it was him. I don't know.
Well.
So we're gonna find out. Now, I just want to say real quick. Now I'm getting really invested into this because.
Right.
Okay, I just want to say these guys. These are not the smartest criminals, or whatever. Because I mean, just reading that guy sounds like a real jackass.
Right.
But.
What was the evidence that Tim had? Tim, again, is Dan's brother.
Yeah.
What did he have? Why don't you guess?
Well, Dan was making it. Dan said he was there with him.
Just give it a big old guess what was in that duffel bag.
A gun?
The murder weapon.
Yeah, okay. Ding, ding, ding.
It was actually Dan's father's gun.
Oh.
Dan put it in this duffel bag, gave it to Tim. I'm personally not clear on if...
I almost want to say like something really just like normal that someone would do, but these guys sound so dumb that I
Well, he threw the bag over a fence on his parents' property. So just fucked it over there.
An idiot. Come on, I mean, throw it in a lake or something. I don't know.
So, after this call, Tim knew explicitly what was in the bag. Like, obviously he knew it was evidence, it was related to the crime. I don't know if he knew it was the gun. Rachel did remind Dan at least once, like, they're recording this. So, after the call with Rachel, it was kind of, he kind of knew the jig was up, you know?
Yeah.
So, he requests to speak again with the detectives right after he hangs up. He says immediately, sits him down, says, y'all, quote, I'm crazy and I did it. I killed Julie and I killed Sam. I killed them both. Sam came first. It was all just about the money. That was it. 100%. End quote.
It was about the money.
So Dan had a lifelong history of money problems and decided he could use Sam's $62,000 savings that he acquired from serving in the military.
From serving. Okay, that's why I was like, that makes sense.
What did he want to use it for? What do you think?
Oh, no. I want his wedding?
His honeymoon.
Oh, my God.
On a Royal Caribbean cruise.
That'd be the best, the best fucking cruise of your life, dude. Better enjoy it because you're going to prison afterwards.
Police found searches on Dan's computer of, quote, best all-inclusive sandals, which presumably sandals resort.
Like a pair of sandals.
Yeah. Immediately followed by, quote, how to fake thumbprints and how loud shotgun. And the grand finale, quote, how to hide a body.
My God, I mean...
I believe there's a few other things in there, like evidence-y things, but the biggest one was the gun, yes.
Yeah.
Instead of following Dan's instructions of disposal, what do you think Tim did with it?
I don't know. I guess I can't really say much because I've never been in a situation where I've killed someone or thought of... But I mean...
This is a quote from District Attorney...
Tom Rakakis.
On Crime Watch Daily, which is where I got some information from. I'm going to list all my sources at the end, and then when we post this, I'll list them all in link form. This is his quote, which I thought was awesome and hilarious. He said, quote, "He killed these two people so he could take a trip. He was so enamored with his own ability to act and his own ability to put on a show, he had no doubt in his mind going into this that he was going to be able to convince a bunch of dumb detectives that Dan Wozniak was not responsible. Wozniak thought he could convince the world that Sam Herr murdered Julie and was somewhere out in the wind." Going back to Wozniak in the confession booth, he says, quote, now this is kind of brutal. I'm just going to, we're going to get into the nitty gritty a little bit. Going forward with this podcast, I don't have any intention of really getting gruesome for gruesome's sake. So, I'm just going to tell you the information you need to know is what I'm saying. While Sam's back was turned, Wozniak shot him in the back of the head once. Herr was not immediately killed, or Sam, he was not immediately killed, but he was very confused and thought he had actually gotten an electric shock and told Sam to call the police. He was like, oh, I got electrocuted.
Told Dan to call the police.
Yeah, he was like, man, help.
Yeah, but he was the one who shot him.
Yeah, Dan did not help. He shot him again in the back of the head, and this time killing him, as well as his arm that had a tattoo. Well, he says, quote, "Sam is decapitated. He's at the military base in the theater. If you go up the ladder from the theater, his head and hands have been decapitated," which decapitated means your head, not your hands or whatever.
Yeah,
he's dumb and stupid. I hate him.
Yeah.
So what he did was lured Sam up to the theater attic to help him move some boxes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of guy Sam was. Like he was that guy that you would call to be like, "Hey man, I'm moving this weekend. Like, can you help out?" He's like,
a good dude.
"I'm there." That evening after the murder of Sam, he didn't go home that night and chilled. He didn't.
Might have had something on his mind.
Military base, and it was called the Liberty Theater. Rachel was also in this production of 9. You can see footage, by the way, of this performance on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he actually was busy that night, and he was starring in a theater production of the musical 9. And
what a hell of a night, really.
Yeah. I do want to note that this was not at the same theater that Sam's body was in. It was at a different one. The theater that Sam was killed in was on the
murder really got him in key with his acting.
Yeah, just method acting. After the performance that night, he used Sam's phone to lure Julie to Sam's apartment and murders her in an attempt to frame Sam so it would look like he murdered her and fled. So Julie did kind of know Rachel and Dan. From what I could gather, everybody that lived in this apartment complex, a lot of them, most of them, went to the community college. So they all kind of knew each other. They would have barbecues a lot. And I'm led to believe, at least from my research, that Sam was somewhat close with Dan, but Julie only knew Dan in passing.
Wow.
The next morning, after the double murder, Wozniak goes back to the military base theater where he left Sam's body all night, and he cut off his identifying features and disposed of them in a nearby park called El Dorado Park. Later that day, he again appears in the final performances at the community theater and attends the cast party with his fiancée that night. He was said to have laughed and joked with his castmates and appeared jovial all night, quote, without a care in the world.
To be able to do something like that, it's just like how I was talking about
vile.
What's his name today? When I was just so thrown off by what's his name?
Oh, Chris Watts.
Chris Watts, because
Gabe just found out about Chris Watts.
never heard of. To be able to especially completely act like another person after you've just done something like that, like you were.
Maybe that would be easier though. To be like, oh. I'm this character now.
I have to do it. Like I can't just bail on it or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But still, that's pretty insane to go just slaughter two people and then,
He sucks. I hate him. So, of Sam and Julie, Dan would later say, quote, "The two victims were two of my close friends, Sam and Julie." Again, I don't think him and Julie were that close, but whatever. Yeah. Sam lived in the same complex that me and my fiance lived at. He helped me out on several occasions and was there for me when I needed him, and Julie was just a friend in the group. Two of the nicest people that I've ever known. You killed them? Have you seen the movie Fargo?
Is that with Tom Hanks' son?
He might be in the TV show, but I don't think he was in the movie.
Okay, I saw parts of the TV show. I didn't watch the whole thing.
So, but Steve Buscemi is in it, William H. Macy, Frances McDormand.
Really?
Yeah. We should watch it. It's really good.
I like it.
There's a part in it where, I won't spoil it, but there's a part at the very end where Frances McDormand's character, she says, let's just say something chaotic went down, because I don't want to ruin it for you or the one viewer probably read that's watching. But she says, all this for a little bit of money. All this for a little bit of money.
Because really, I mean, yeah, $60,000 is not shit, really. No. You know, I mean,
it's...
Of course it would be nice to come across, but to do something like that, no.
That's pretty much the story. Where does Rachel fit in this?
I mean, does she fit into it?
Well, let's kind of get into their personal lives.
Sure.
Their relationship a little bit and kind of, like, dismantle this. So Dan's friends described him as happy-go-lucky, sweet, generous, kind, charming, friendly. He was very much in love with Rachel in a way that Rachel didn't seem to always reciprocate on the same level. This quote was after everything went down, but I don't know. It just seems weird. I don't know. So she says, quote, "He actually fell for me first, and at the time he had already kind of become my best friend, and I was hanging out with him so often. I wasn't head over heels in love with him, but I was okay with it." Right? I mean, I know that she has this context of, like, what he did, but that's still weird to say, you know? Or do you not think so?
Oh, that's super weird.
The Sleuth podcast, which I would highly, highly, highly recommend if you're interested in this case, because the woman, I can't recall her name off the top of my head, but she did some great investigative journalist work on this case. She talked to Steve Herr. She talked to an ex-boyfriend of Rachel Buffett's after this all went down. So he kind of, like, whatever, interesting interview. A lot of stuff that is kind of, like, not super relevant to the core of the case that I'm not going to get into, but are also, it's just kind of interesting. Yeah. Like, there's a sex tape involved.
Ooh, saucy.
Yeah. Go ahead and check out Sleuth.
Dense.
It's very dense, though. There's, like, 18 parts. So, personally, I haven't listened to all of it because that's how dense it is, but very interesting. Sleuth podcast also claims that she told police after Dan's arrest that he was, quote, a lousy lover and, quote, didn't have much to work with down there.
Oh.
End quote. And this was just 2 days before their scheduled wedding. Again, yes, she is talking to police about this crime that happened, but I just feel like that's a weird thing to bring up. Like, it's not relevant.
No, you know? I don't think the...
Now, the Sleuth podcast is the only place that I heard that, and is very biased against Rachel Buffett, so just throwing that out there, but I don't know, I believe it. I think she said it.
I don't know.
A police informant and jailhouse neighbor to Dan told police that Dan said Rachel was very aware of the murder plot, and she was okay with it.
How, though?
I mean, you know, that's all I have on that one.
Hearsay, pretty much.
But just throwing that out there. However, Rachel Buffett, she was arrested and charged for accessory to murder for lying to police in an attempt to cover up the crime after the fact.
So she did get in trouble.
So police believe that she was intentionally misleading investigators away from Wozniak and toward Herr in questioning. So what had happened was there was a witness named Chris Williams, and he had come forward saying that he saw Dan, Rachel, and Sam all in Dan's apartment together early on the day of Friday, May 21st, which is again the day of the murders, to pick up money that the couple owed him. So Chris said that Dan and Sam left while he stayed with Rachel until Dan came back 3 hours later with the money and without Sam, acting strange and emotional. Rachel did not ever mention Chris during questioning before he came forward, and repeated to police the same story that Dan initially told them, which was that Sam had left their apartment with a man they didn't know who was wearing a black hat. This was all before the recorded jailhouse phone call and before Dan's eventual confession. She was convicted of this charge and was sentenced to 32 months.
32 months?
Yeah. So, Dan Wozniak was found guilty by a jury of 2 counts of first-degree murder on December 16th, 2015, with a recommendation towards the death penalty. On September 23rd, 2016, a judge sentenced Wozniak to death. He is still alive and currently serving on San Quentin State Prison's death row with other notable inmates such as our friend Scott Peterson, who we were talking about earlier. He's not our friend, but who murdered his pregnant wife, Lacey Peterson. Yep. Asaro Aguirre, who I know you didn't watch the Gabriel Fernandez documentary.
Oh, he was the
killer of that beautiful little 8-year-old boy, and it makes me want to cry every time I think about it.
So sad.
And also Richard Allen Davis, who was the perpetrator in the Polly Klaas case, which is one that also really got to me. I don't know that we will ever cover that one because it's so dark, and that man is pure evil. So that's who Wozniak is hanging out with these days. Wozniak is, I think he is the youngest, but at the very least he's among the youngest death row inmates currently at San Quentin. And it is worth noting that San Quentin has not carried out a death sentence to completion since 2006, and there's currently a moratorium on death row inmates in the state of California. I put as of a year, so I was supposed to look up the year, but I didn't. I think it was a few years ago. Here are some interesting facts that didn't fit anywhere in the narrative. So Rachel Buffett was a former Disneyland princess. She was Princess Ariel.
Really?
Yeah. Steve Herr called several of Sam's friends in the initial search for him. I just thought this was interesting, including Dan. Dan told Steve, Sam's father, that Sam seemed very upset and told him he had girl problems and family problems that he was dealing with. And these were just major red flags, again, to Steve and to all of Sam's actual friends, because they knew that he was very close with his family and he never had family problems.
Yeah.
Also, this was just something I had to add in because in the 2020 episode they said that Julie had a Taylor Swift ringtone, and I love Taylor Swift. It was Today Was a Fairy Tale, and it actually went off at the scene, alerting investigators to text from Sam the day before. This is probably literally the most heartbreaking thing I've ever heard in my life. Since Sam was decapitated, he was identified by that tattoo of the heart that said Mom and Dad.
Really?
On his chest, yeah. His father, Steve, said, quote, "The next day, that Saturday, was his birthday. I was praying for them to find Sam's head. A father has to pray for on his son's birthday that they find his head."
Oh, my Lord.
And Sam's head was found in the park under scattered leaves on his 27th birthday. His hand was never found. He was given a hero's burial with full military honors.
What the hell, man?
Yeah.
Chopping someone.
That is just that.
That's really sad
God.
too, for the dad to be.
And
yeah, that's
the dad,
awful.
I love him. He is so cool. Rachel Buffett, she actually went on Dr. Phil, and he said Dr. Phil had reached out to him first, and he was like, "No, I don't want to go on your stupid TV show, whatever, and exploit my son's death." And they were like, "Oh, okay, well, Rachel is coming on the show, so that's why we invited you." And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going on your show then."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm not gonna allow her to, get those big doe eyes going and the tears flowing and get people on her side, because he believes that she is just as culpable."
Guilty, yeah.
Any final thoughts? That's all I have.
I don't know. I'm always just so baffled hearing these stories because that guy killed people that night.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's just the thing that I started thinking of, it's like, geez, you never know. Like, you could work with someone that's like that. Anyone you have interactions with, you just never know if they're just completely crazy.
Also, just real quick, I'll go ahead and rattle off some of my sources. There's a website called Daniel Wozniak is my friend.com, and it's a blog. Oh, look at that.
There we go.
It's a blog about somebody who started talking to him in prison. It's a dense website to get through, so I didn't read all of it, but oh yeah, he was also name-checked in a song by Eminem.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a heavy.com article that I used, Crime Watch Daily episode, the 2020 episode, WCBI, The Sun, ABC News, and that's it. So, again, I will post the sources when we actually post the audio. Full to Sam and Julie, you know.
For a second, I was like, he killed people. But now, okay, now I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's... Which, yeah, also I don't want to have to skim through this entire song and find that, but...
It would be different, I feel like, if he said, like... I know it doesn't rhyme, but if he said, like I'm Freddy Krueger, or somebody that's not real, you know? Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that's...
Then again...
I don't like that.
I mean, even though if he didn't, like...
Because, I mean, maybe we could have this discussion on, like, another episode, but to me, that's glorifying.
Oh, wait,
you know?
These are... No, I need...
See, now this is stuff, again, that's, like... Isn't relevant, really, but, you could just, like, fall into a rabbit hole, because there's stuff about Rachel's brother, about there's possibly, like, something going on there in, like, a weird way, if you know what I mean. There's a sex tape with Dan's ex-girlfriend that they talk about on Sleuth, so check out Sleuth, check out Daniel Wozniak is my friend if you just want to fall deep down a dark rabbit hole and never come out.
Yeah. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed our first podcast. That was actually really fun, and I like doing that a lot because like an hour went by and it seems like 10 minutes. Like that's...
Did it really?
Yeah. See,
nice.
Look.
All right. Cool.
I know that's not bad at all. I feel like we could start doing these every Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. You know, that would be cool because you have another one, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that was fun. That was really cool, Olivia. Thank you so much for doing that exclusive, extensive research. That was very nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Tune in again next time.
See you next time.
Take it easy. Stay tuned.
Bye.